Well, welcome to the Node.js Node.js API team meeting for February 7th, 2025. Um, Before we get started, does anybody have any announcements they'd like to share? Okay, if not, I'm going to share the board that we go through, and there we go. Okay. Oops. I think it should be shared now. Let me just make it a little bigger. So I don't know if there's anything in the done that we want to chat about. Then moving over to the has PR side, I think Gabriel's working on that and he let us know he couldn't make it today, so I don't think there's any update. So maybe we move over to in progress. I know Vladimir, you spent a lot of time on Libnode, and I did see a few of us commented there. I haven't had a chance to catch up on the comments, but maybe anything we should discuss on that one today?
Yeah, I kind of made, like I said, some progress with Libnode, published with updates to PR. Thank you for review on Monday. To me, it's mostly about documentation, but I really want to kind of understand if you guys agree with this approach with this API. Um, it's more like I kind of want to kind of understand if on conceptual level we're on the right path or not. Um,
Yeah, I didn't see any fundamental things. The one thing that would help, I think, was my comment about, and maybe you've already added it, like an example that includes basically using all of the callbacks. Because like you have, I think there's, and maybe I missed the example if it's already there, but there's an example that uses like the shortcut ones, which are like, hey, if you just want to run a script, there's a method for that, and that looks pretty easy to use.
right.
But what I didn't see was an example that actually like uses, there's probably like three or four or five different APIs. Like if you want to like set one value for everything, in every configuration option. So I think something like that would be good to have as an example, just because then it's like a pattern. If I want to tweak something, I could just copy that, and it would also be a more complete example of like using all of the APIs together, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, it's a good suggestion. There's some other kind of unit as exercise in different aspects, but you're right. Maybe it may be worth to kind of have like a Uber example and maybe provide some kind of better commenting. Like for example, this thing is optional; you don't have to provide it or something like this.
Exactly. Like it's sort of just like I know you can configure, say, the platform, and then you can configure the runtime, right? And just showing like, okay, we'll configure one, I set one extra flag on the platform, one extra flag on the runtime, one extra flag on the thing, like the simplest thing that uses them, because it is a little bit different. And so like showing that it's like, okay, you've got to write this callback, which will set the flag or whatever, would I think illustrate a little bit better.
Okay, sounds good. I still gonna do some touches. I've seen I didn't rename some functions in C++ wrappers, but also, I should tell you that I start to publish with libnode NuGet package. It also has some bugs at this point, but at least pipeline to build it and publish already online. And if you go to nuget.org, you can find microsoft.javascript.libnode.
Okay, cool.
We have this reserved kind of prefixes, Microsoft.javascript, and technically, if you find after that something like it's pretty much all packages coming from us. So yeah, libnode, but because each libnode is pretty big, it's libnode is empty, but it has like a bunch of dependencies. Like we publish for Linux, ARM64, x64 for OS X, x64, ARM64, and for Windows, effectively 32-bit, 64-bit, and ARM64. I think going forward, I guess one of the questions will be Node.js dropped support for Windows 32-bit, and in Office we still need to have 32-bit support for V8 and the rest. But I guess that will be kind of discussion probably with build team, I guess. Um,
Well, I think it comes down to a resources issue. Like there was a long, long discussion on that. And I think even like the feedback we got from Microsoft was like the 32-bit, it's okay to let it go. From the project's perspective, like Windows is kind of our, I don't want to, I know it's not your fault, but like it's one of our pain points. So having 230, like two was even more painful. Um, and I think like, the reason things drop out is like nobody's actively maintaining them and nobody wants to actively maintain them. So it's not about just saying, can we have it back? It would be like, we really want it back, and here's the four people who are going to make sure that we do all the work that's required to make that happen, if you know what I mean, right?
Okay, makes sense.
Just to give you the context, right? Like it's not really like going back to the build team and saying, "Hey, can you do this?" It'll the build team. I know I'm in those meetings, and we're like, "Well, who's going to do the work? Who's going to take the extra stuff to make it happen?" And like, I don't, there isn't anybody who's Microsoft has contracted people from I think Genea Systems, but like it's not that they've got extra capacity from our experience. It's kind of the way I'll put it.
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah, let me figure out because technically at this point the way it works, like now I'm capable to build this libnode DLL.
Yep.
So next step would be we're gonna start to use it, say prototype to use it in office. If it runs, then I have like business reason for us to maintain it. But before I kind of go all the way in office, kind of accepting this stuff. So I think I want to make sure that it should be possible to revive this 32-bit version for. I don't need the whole node.js effectively. We definitely don't probably need node.js as a executable, but as we talk about the shared libnode, this is what we need. So at least we want to make sure that there is nothing in the project which like specifically said like disables 32-bit. I don't know.
Yeah, so that comes down to like testing and and
Oh yeah, that's a good
right. And
point.
that's where like, okay. And like I don't think we want to get into this, but I'll just like, yeah, it's not it won't be a like, hey, can we just do this in a yes, right? Like there'll be a fairly involved discussion, and resources will be a key part of that. Like, whatever extra work that takes. Um, because I think it was like you can go back, there's at least an issue that where that was discussed and there were people from Microsoft involved and like,
Yeah, Microsoft, a big company, like if
yeah,
you
yeah,
need
no, I know, I totally
different groups
understand.
representing different interests, right?
Yeah,
Like
yeah, no, totally
yeah.
understand. So, but I think it'll come back to like probably you're going to need to make a business case, which then justifies people who you can show will do whatever the extra work that might impact the project, right? And even then, there'll be some convincing. Like we've had, like some people, it's a big project, just like a big company. People have different concerns, and like some people are just like, get out of my way, let me deliver fixes as much as I can. So there's actually been recent proposals to say we should just tear out all the tier two platforms because they're getting in our way. And I'm like, no, 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 wait a second. Some of those are our platforms. We work really hard to make sure they aren't a problem, right? And so like some of the context of that would also it would be like, hey, we're trying to add one back now. In terms of timing, it might make it a little more challenging.
From my perspective, it's a relatively temporary solution, but temporary on a scale. What I learned lately, maybe it's for the scale for next 2 years or something. Because technically, Windows 11 is 64-bit only platform. So technically, hopefully, going forward, like in a couple of years, we don't need 32-bit platform at all.
Right.
But just time being, maybe just I don't know. Do you know like if Node.js 22 still supports 32-bit by any chance?
I don't know off the top of my head. I'd have to go look at the building thing would tell us.
Like
Yeah,
maybe
no,
like
I'd have
our
to go look.
solution could be like just for 32-bit version will support only old Node.js or something. I don't know. Let me work on
I
what I hear from you. You don't have completely kind of you don't say no from the start. It's what important for me.
Like one, I can't say I can't say yes or no for the project, right? But the project never is like an absolute like there's no one person who can tell you yes or no. That's part of the thing, right? There's like all the collaborators are like 80 of them. And so like, what is the sentiment of those 80? And then there's the technical steering committee which is around 20 people who would like override if there's an objection. So if like somebody says, I want to do this, and like some of the collaborators say, no, we don't. And then we can't come to consensus. Then it goes to the technical steering committee. But even there's like 20 people which have different views. And so like it's not easy necessarily to get a yes or no, right? Like the easy yeses are easy, right? Like if everybody is like, yep, we want to do that, nobody, no concerns, great. It's when anything, it's going to be more content. Like the, I guess my feedback is like, I think this is going to fall into one of those ones where it's going to be harder to get a yes or a no, and therefore it's going to take more work, and there'll be things. But like, I'm happy to chat with you offline on that. I think is
Okay, sounds good.
yeah.
I think when the things come to whether or not to support a platform, it's more about whether or not we have enough resources to support it. Because if we don't have enough resources to support, even if we have collaborators want to support that platform, we don't have, well, technically we don't have the resources to support. That's not practical.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's a good summary. Is like it comes down to who's going to do the work that's required, right? And like we don't have people like generally that, yeah, it always comes down to like, is there more work? Yes. Who's going to do the work? Nobody. Then no, right? Like we, some of the platforms, people are like, hey, why not our platform? And it's just like, will you commit to do the work that's required? Yes. Okay, we'll help and work with you. No, well, then it doesn't go anywhere. So it's a good way.
Yeah. I think this
Yeah,
is kind of different from the technical direction we made on other topics, because it's more about if we have the resources to put on them.
Yeah,
yeah, I think like
I'll dig up the the article, or sorry, the issue that I can find where it was discussed, and that might be a place to start in terms of understanding the context.
okay, thank you. But anyway, folks, please have a look on this PR. PR is growing. Like the changes to the core is it's relatively small. The biggest changes coming to unit test, because I want to make sure that all these APIs being tested, and you can see like there are more like 15 new kind of files just for tests. And I would appreciate if you just start looking at it's pretty big PR. But again, it's core itself, core changes not so big. It's more like additive. There are only tiny places where I'm touching effectively core. It's mostly kind of additive.
I don't know, Chinzang, I know you were taking a look too. Did you have any initial thought, feedback you want to add to what I said?
Are you referring to the
Yeah,
embedded API pull request?
yeah, yeah.
I haven't take a look since the last week because I was not here last week. If the pull request is ready for review, I'll take a look in the next week.
Okay.
Okay, maybe I saw a comment which I think was older, but then
Let's say it's pretty good shape. Like there are some touches that still needs to be done in docs and something like this. But I would say core almost ready. Like yeah, so but it's still like if you guys look at it, especially what my biggest concern that you look at it and you say like conceptually something is wrong and stuff, which would require a lot of changes. I would like to learn about these suggestions earlier than later, because it pretty much train already kind of goes in some sense.
Yeah, sure, makes sense. Thank you very much for working on
And
it.
look at the unit test. Like it's good examples of different APIs, and I will add in more, like Michael suggested, just kind of better show up so certain concepts.
yeah, I think once it's ready, I wonder if like doing a PR which changes the core, like with the just test, like if there was and maybe this is we can discuss later, but like breaking it out so there's a PR which just as the changes to core. And then the follow-on PR which adds the stuff, just because like the bigger it is, the harder it is to get people to look at it. And if you can say like, okay, here's the small PR, people look at it, you get that landed, and then you say like, this is purely additive. It doesn't change anything, doesn't break anything existing. That I think might be easier to get landed just because people can sort of say, well, okay, I know it doesn't break anything existing, right? So I'm a little less concerned.
Okay, sounds
I
good.
also think you're like you having it built and being used even in proof of concept places. Like I think that will be a good argument in terms of like it's actually sort of it's a proof. There's some proof that it's actually in a shape that would be usable because it's actually being used, right? So that I think that'll be a good thing to have included in there too.
And as you know, like this is another project we're working on is Node API for .NET. We also have changed it to work with this lib node. In fact, it's one of the reasons why it took sometimes longer because certain concept didn't work really well. Then I started to use it from C#, for example. So like, but now like I feel pretty good about a lot of things there, like kind of error handling specifically and wrapping up runtime. I probably need to do extra work for wrapping up platform, but majority of things it's already in place. Cool, thank you. I'm looking forward. I'm going to still continue to contribute to this PR, but yeah, if you guys start to look at it, that's awesome.
Cool. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so then we look at the next in progress ones. Anything that we want to chat about on those?
I moved the bottom one there. It was still under triage,
Okay, good.
but I've been communicating with the poster. We haven't had an update in a week, so if there's nothing this week, then I'll probably close it.
Okay, so sounds good. You're responding, and if they don't engage, then like, yeah, okay. Makes good sense. Okay, then anything in to do that we should touch on? I know these are things that like, yeah, we want to do, but nobody's necessarily looking at them. So unless somebody does have something, I'll just move on to needs triage. Okay, so then in the needs triage, I think at the bottom, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I just moved a pull request as in the example repo
Okay.
to land it to land. I just landed it, and it was moved to done.
Okay, this one or
It's the last item in the done column.
Okay, so
Yeah,
this one
the
here.
memory leak one. Yeah, the memory leak one.
Oh, this one right here. Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Okay,
It's a very simple fix that we discussed 2 weeks ago.
Yep. Okay, that's
Yeah.
good. Yeah, thanks for that heads up. So that you just dragged over. This one. So I think you've already taken a look at this one.
Yeah, it's a very simple fix, one line, and add a header inclusion.
Okay.
And I found that another pull request has been blocked by this one because the CI is failing.
Okay. So that's good, and it passed all the tests. So I guess that was only 33 minutes ago. I don't know if people need more time or should we just go ahead and land it? Like it looks pretty straightforward.
Yeah, I don't mind.
Okay, so I'll just click the button. Okay. And we'll go back to there. So that's good. We can drag over to done. This one I think we can just look at unless although
It's just for this one the CI is failing, so
right,
probably
okay.
need a manual intervention.
Okay. And that's yeah, okay. So we'll need somebody to take a look at that one and decide what to do.
Yeah, this is just the one that I mentioned that the
Okay.
CI is failing because
Okay.
of the program we just landed. It's
Okay.
a documentation only change, so it shouldn't fail the CI. So yeah, but anyway.
Okay, so if I restart, does this need a rebase or?
I think you need a rebase to pick up the latest change on the main branch.
Okay. Is there any way we can force that during the?
The GitHub UI only shows the updated branch when we enable another enforcement, but unfortunately we didn't enable that, so we can have to we
Right.
have to base manually.
Okay.
That's
So you think I
unfortunate.
should just ask the author to rebase?
Yeah,
Okay, so why don't we say
would you mind rebase to the main
It's
branch?
typically any one of us can do it, right? If author is busy or something.
yeah, we could, but it's easier for them, I think, so might as well just ask them, and if they say sure, otherwise you're
Yeah.
right, we could check it out and do it, but
We can do it via some tricky GitHub and some GitHub tricks. And I know that's not documented in public docs.
No, I mean, like I see like a maintainer allowed to edit this pull request. It means that any of us can contribute to it if we
Yeah,
can.
you have to use some git command to push to their repo directory, and it's not the normal git workflow.
yeah, we can definitely, like, if they disappear, we can do it, but like I think just asking them, because like it's probably a 2-minute thing for them, and for any one of us it would take a bit more finessing.
Yeah.
Okay. This one, I think this one is kind of like in progress, right?
Yeah, right.
So, okay. Or even like has PRs, maybe we'll put it there and we can see this one. I don't know if this is similar. It's got any failures to. Okay, so this also needs some manual investigation. And then this one, I think it's already looked at, so I don't know if there's anything new.
Well, I'm not a frequent user of VCPKG, so if anyone have any experience with VCPKG, they'll be very appreciated to read this one.
Right, I think we had Vladimir tagged to take a look at it at some point. I don't think it was necessarily ready before, but anyway, it looks like it's ready for a look.
It still has draft status technically, right?
You're right, it's still draft. Okay, yeah, it's okay.
Still work in progress.
I'll leave it as it is. Okay. That takes us to the end of the list. Anything else we should chat about this week, or? If not, I'll say thank you to everybody and their time and all the work putting in, and we'll see you in GitHub in next week. Thanks.
Yeah, have a good weekend.
Bye, you too.